Amazon sellers for a long time have believed that getting Ungated to be allowed to sell popular products and brands on Amazon is difficult. Amazon gurus have even sold ungating guides for hundreds of pounds. But the honest answer is that it simply is just not that difficult. All you really need is an invoice showing that you've purchased at least 10 units of the particular brand or the particular product that you're looking to ungate, and you just need to submit that invoice to Amazon. After you've done that, you should be able to sell that brand moving forward on Amazon. Now, there are definitely a few tips and tricks that I will share later on in this video that you can kind of made this process a little bit more efficient and a little bit faster. But lucky for you, it's all going to be covered in this video. So without further ado, let's get into it. So ungating on Amazon basically refers to the process where you have to apply to sell certain brands and sell certain categories on the Amazon platform. Now this is done to protect the brands that sell on Amazon. You know, if anyone could just sign up to Amazon straight away and start selling Gucci, for example, there's going to be a lot of fake Gucci on Amazon, hence why they make it a little bit harder to sell these brands. Now, though this can definitely be a bit of a pain for anyone who is completely fresh to Amazon, as you will have a new account and Amazon is going to be a little bit suspicious of you at the start, it's actually just not as hard as people really make it out to get ungated with these brands on Amazon. All you need is a valid invoice. It's a common misconception as well that Amazon wants you to provide an invoice from a wholesaler or from the brand themselves. This is just not true. You don't have to go and set up a trade account with a wholesaler or do anything complex or even have like a proper limited company. All you need is an invoice matching the name and address on your Seller Central account. All of the invoices I've ever used to ungate on Amazon, they've very rarely, or if ever, have had my company name on it. It's only ever had like my address on it and my name on it, and that's all you really need. As well as the company information, like their website, contact details, their name and address, like their company name ideally. As long as you have that, then it should be fine. And this has to be a proper VAT invoice. It can't just be an order confirmation, as that won't be accepted. In this section, I'm going to go over all the different categories on Amazon, or at least the most common ones that are sold through arbitrage, and explain the best retailers to be buying from to get those invoices that are going to be accepted by Amazon. So for books, retailers such as Waterstones, Awesome Books, and Wordery all offer VAT invoices, and you should be able to use those VAT invoices to ungate any brand in the books category. For music and video games as well, we've got HMV. They're a really good retailer to be using. Game.co.uk is another good one. All of these places provide VAT invoices, so all you need to do is find a product under the brand you're trying to sell, order it from that site, get 10 units, get an invoice, and submit that to Amazon. It's worth noting that whenever you're ungating something, you always need at least 10 units. Then we've got household and personal goods. So there's a lot of different kind of brands and stuff in this category. It kind of depends what specifically you're trying to sell. But big name retailers like Argos, Robert Dias, and Dunelm are all going to be able to give you VAT invoices that you can use for ungating. I myself have ungated before many times with invoices from Argos, so it's definitely a good place to be looking at. Now there are some items that may have additional requirements, though it's fairly rare, but stuff like car seats, prams, anything where if it went wrong, there could potentially be issues such as the death of a small child. Stuff like that, Amazon are, and they should be, a little bit stricter on kind of who sells those products and stuff like that. So you might need to provide photos of the item, photos of the CE mark. I remember myself, I've sold some prams before and it was a little bit of a headache, worth it for the profit, but I had to get them sent to me instead of my prep center and take photos of all the products and the serial numbers on them and everything like that and submit that as well as the invoice that I actually had, just so that Amazon could definitely verify that I wasn't trying to sell some knockoff car seat or pram or whatever. It's you know, an actual legit item. Next we got fashion and accessories. So ASOS, Next, Boohoo Man, all these places are going to be able to give you a VAT invoice that should be able to get you ungated for any of these sort of brands. Now it is worth noting, as I said earlier about Gucci, some high-end brands, stuff like Nike, Gucci, other kind of designery, like high-end sort of brands, they're going to be harder to ungate. If you can get an invoice directly from the brand themselves, like for instance for Nike, if you can buy stuff off the Nike website and have an invoice from them, that's going to have a higher chance of you being accepted. But it is notoriously difficult at the moment for new sellers to sell these sort of brands. And to be honest, with fashion, there's such high return rates anyway. It's not my favorite category to be selling in. In general though, if you do want to go for these brands, I would definitely say that retain the product, keep it in hand and just kind of take photos of it, submit that along with the actual invoice yourself, and you'll just have a higher chance of actually getting approved for that brand. Next up, we've got electronics. So there's lots of retailers that sell these sort of products, but the big name ones, Currys, Argos, eBuyer as well, these are all great places to be buying from to get VAT invoices. It's always good as well to submit product pictures, like stuff with the serial numbers or information about the warranty. Some of that can also help your application, though it's not really that necessary. It really is just a case with Ungating and just Amazon in general. The more documentation you have for your products, the better, because if any issues do arise, you're going to have a good load of information that you can send to Amazon to prove that the products you're selling are authentic, and yeah, you just won't have any issues if you do have all that information. Next up, we've got toys, kids, and baby products. So this is one of the biggest categories, I would say, for arbitrage. Most people, myself included, I mean, probably not most, I think basically all arbitrage sellers at some point have sold baby products or toys, because there are so many deals about for these sort of products. Some good places to be looking is, again, Argos, brilliant, reliable, they sell lots of different things. The Entertainer is another really good one, very well-known retailer. And if you're on a bit of a budget and you're just trying to get the cheapest possible product to ungate, have a look at Pound Toy and Toy Dip. It's kind of in the name for Pound Toy, obviously, but they sell toys for about £1. Toy Dip as well is really, really affordable. And both of these retailers will be able to provide you with a VAT invoice that Amazon is going to accept for ungating. Now again, though it is rare, every now and then Amazon do ask you to submit product photos showing that you are compliant with the CE mark and all that good stuff. But yeah, just keep the product in hand, take lots of photos of it. If Amazon requests it on the application, obviously submit it. But for the most part, unless it is something like a pram or something like that, they're not usually going to ask for this. All of the brands are already vetted when selling on Amazon. So if there is a listing for it, if you're able to apply, they already kind of know that that product is compliant. Then we got sports and outdoors. So Decathlon, Sports Direct, there's some pretty key retailers in the UK that sell these sort of goods. You should be able to get VAT invoices from them, and that will prove to Amazon that you're selling authentic products bought from a well-known, recognized supplier, and you shouldn't have any issues ungating from those stores. Now, it is important that when you're applying for a certain brand or a certain product, that the invoice does clearly show the actual brand name as well as the model number, ideally, or a bit of product description of that item. And again, the invoices have to match your seller account information. If you don't have the correct matching address and the name on the invoice is just going to get rejected, because as far as Amazon is concerned, that is not an invoice to you if it doesn't have the matching information to your seller account. Next up, home improvement and automotive. So Screwfix is probably my recommended #1 retailer for this category. They sell a lot of different products in home improvement and automotive. And I know for a fact that Amazon do accept invoices from Screwfix, and they're also more than happy to provide them. You know, some retailers like Argos, though reliable and they do work, it can be a bit of a pain to get a VAT invoice from them because they're not really a B2B sales platform. You know, they're not trying to sell to businesses. Meanwhile, Screwfix are like, their whole thing is mostly selling to businesses. So they're more than happy to provide a VAT invoice if requested. Halfords is definitely another good place to look. Very well-known retailer in the UK. And again, they're usually more than happy to provide you a VAT invoices to back up your order. And you'll be able to submit that along with pictures of the product if you can be bothered to take the photos. Add those to your application and it just improves your chances of getting accepted. Really, the more information you can submit to Amazon, the better. If you want to go really crazy, you could even submit like the tracking information for your order, you know, even bank statements showing the payment to the retailer, pictures of the order confirmation. The more information you provide, the better it's going to be. It's not always necessary. Usually an invoice on its own is just fine. But if you are having difficulty ungating a particular brand, there's no harm in trying. And then we've got beauty as well. So beauty is a massive category for arbitrage. So I'm sure if you're watching this now and you're already selling on Amazon, this is probably one of the main categories that you sell in. If I had to pick just one place to recommend for getting invoices, it's got to be Notino. It is a very, very well-known site. I'm pretty sure they're Europe's biggest like online beauty distributor or retailer, and they're really great for invoices. You can actually just tick a little box at checkout saying that you need a VAT invoice and they will automatically send you one, no questions asked. You can even put in your company information if you have one, like your limited company name, VAT number, and they'll put all of that on the invoice, and they're just not a headache to deal with. Now, speaking of headaches, Superdrug. Now, you might be thinking, oh, Superdrug's a massive retailer, I should probably go there if I can't find it at Notino. Do not buy from there if you're looking to get an invoice, because they just often refuse to even provide one. You've at least got to show that you're VAT registered, and even then it will often take them at least 30 days to send you one, if at all. So not a very reliable place to be buying from. A great place to source from, but if you need those invoices, I can't recommend it. And then obviously if they're not on Notino, you can have a look at Just My Look. That's another good one. Boots will also provide VAT invoices, though I've had mixed experience on getting with those. And also obviously if you can find the actual brand, if the brand themselves has a website that they sell on, you're typically going to be able to get a VAT invoice from them that's going to be accepted by Amazon because it's from the brand themselves. And next we've got travel and leisure. So if you're trying to ungate Samsonite, this is probably the biggest arbitrage type of brand in this sort of category. Just go on their website and try and get an invoice from them directly. Amazon kind of can't really argue with an invoice directly from the brand you're trying to ungate. And our good old friend Argos as well is, you know, another great place to look. They're you know, reliable as always. And that definitely doesn't go for just this category. Really any brand, if you're able to get an invoice directly from the brand, from their website or something like that, you're always going to have a higher chance of ungating it because it's from the brand themselves. But it's always worth, you know, if there's a particular brand that you're struggling with, have a look, see if they sell anything through their website and see if you can get an invoice from them directly. And next up, just a few notes on fairly specialist things. So medical supply related things can be difficult to ungate, especially as a new seller. So just kind of think twice if you're buying something that's could potentially cause a risk to the person buying it if the product wasn't fully like legit. Obviously Amazon want to avoid any issues with product safety and lawsuits and stuff like that. So if it is a fairly specific product that for whatever reason cannot be fake and cannot be just even slightly dodgy, because it's very, very imperative to the buyer that they get a quality brand new product, there's going to be additional problems with ungating that. It's going to be a little bit trickier. They might just be more stringent on who they accept. And medical supplies is one of those things where it's quite important that the customer knows that they're getting an 100% legit product and they don't want to risk it on new sellers. Now you definitely can ungate these harder categories as a well-known seller. I myself am ungated with many medical supply brands, premium beauty brands, this sort of stuff. It's just as a new seller, it's going to be that little bit more difficult. So maybe think about going for something else when you're first getting started before you try and conquer these sort of brands. And then yeah, as I briefly mentioned, premium beauty brands are really, really difficult to ungate. Versace, Gucci, Dolce & Gabbana, all these kind of ones, it's usually like perfume that we're selling rather than clothes and stuff. But yeah, it's tricky to ungate these with Amazon. I myself am actually not ungated for Dolce & Gabbana. I've tried with so many different retailers and it's just difficult. And finally, for this section, just a few more notes on ungating. So if Amazon do request more information from you, you want to be resubmitting it as soon as possible. You know, just get back to them. Don't be slacking, because it's just going to prolong your application and mean that it's going to take a lot longer to be selling that brand, which means at the end of the day, you're potentially missing out on profit. It's also great if you can keep products in hand and get photos of them, because that way you're going to have a lot easier time ungating, because that way you're going to just prove to Amazon, yes, I definitely have these products in hand. Some people will even print out the invoice and get a photo of that invoice next to the products. Now, I've never actually done this myself, I've never had to, but with Amazon getting harder to ungate with products all the time and getting a little bit stricter with things, it's not a bad idea. And I'd say the key piece of advice from this whole little presentation here is resubmit your invoices if they're denied. I've heard of so many stories lately of sellers where they've submitted the same invoice like 20 times over, and only on the 20th try have they actually been able to ungate that product. It doesn't really make sense. I mean, I think it's just Amazon workers being lazy, and it's a lot easier to just hit deny instead of hitting accept. So if you've been denied once and your invoice is definitely correct, you've bought from a reputable supplier, the brand isn't like too tricky to ungate with limited sales history, just keep submitting it and submitting it and submitting it. Make sure that you just reply to the existing case in Seller Central though. Don't start a new application every time, as that's just going to get you auto rejected a lot of the time. There's something that I haven't mentioned yet in this video, and you might be thinking, well Felix, if you can buy products from Amazon themselves to resell back onto Amazon, surely you can do the same with ungating, and that way you have an invoice from Amazon themselves which they can't possibly deny because it's from them. Yes and no. You can ungate with an invoice from Amazon in theory. It actually used to be my go-to method of, if I was ungated for something, I'm gonna buy it off Amazon and just get that invoice from them because I can't possibly deny it. And it still technically works, but they have recently changed the requirements to requiring an invoice from Amazon to show at least 50, if not 100 units on that invoice. Now this is tricky, to say the least, because one, you got to actually pay for 50 to 100 units, which could be really expensive. And even just ordering that amount from Amazon themselves can be tricky. There's often order limits, so you might have to buy a few different items from that same brand, and they all have to be sold by Amazon directly, not by a third-party seller. So all in all, I'd say nowadays in 2025, it's not really that possible to use an invoice from Amazon to ungate stuff. You really got to be looking at other suppliers. Unfortunately, a lot of people took the piss with how lenient Amazon was previously with just, allowing that with just 10 units. And I think a lot of people were just buying 10 and then returning it, and Amazon was probably sick of people doing that. And yeah, just kind of change the stakes slightly. All right, so just to give you guys an idea of what you actually need to be submitting to Amazon and the documentation you need to be having and the documentation you don't want to be submitting, I'm going to give you 2 good invoices and 2 bad invoices so you can see what will be accepted and what's not going to be accepted. First up here, we've just got a screenshot of an order confirmation email. We've just got my address on, the information for the products, the total, stuff like that. And sure, it does show what VAT is charged, but this is not a VAT invoice. This is an order confirmation. It's not going to be accepted by Amazon. Even if you print it off, save it as a PDF or whatever, it's an order confirmation. There's no getting around that. It has to say invoice at the top. If it doesn't say invoice at the top, it's not getting accepted. And then, so we were talking about Argos quite a lot in the previous bit, but yeah, this is an Argos e-receipt. Again though, not an invoice, it's a receipt. So you can see here, we've got the products that I purchased, the total for them, car details, all sorts of that. And, it does have Argos's information. And in my head, really, I think this should be accepted by Amazon, but it's not. Unfortunately, it's just not their policy. They don't accept this. It has to be an actual invoice. Now let's look at the 2 good invoices. So this is the sort of stuff you want to be submitting. So this is an invoice from Latino. This is what I mean about they will just give you a proper invoice, and they're not a headache to deal with. They're definitely my go-to for any beauty stuff. And then yeah, you can see here, obviously this will be blurred, but it's got my company information on it, it's got our address on it, it's got my contact information, it's also got Latino's information. You've got the products down here, even to the point of showing what barcodes there are for the products, which is just perfect for Amazon because this is extremely descriptive and just has everything that is in their requirements. And then we've also got an invoice as well from Sports Direct, another great retailer to be buying from for like sports and outdoors. And yeah, again, it's got all my invoice address here. You can even put a separate delivery and invoice address if you want. If you're like shipping to a prep center but still want to get that invoice for ungating, you can have your proper company or billing address on here and then just have the prep center address. And yeah, as you can see, all the products here, product codes, stuff like that. So perfect for Amazon and definitely what you want to be submitting. Another quick tip as well, if you submit the invoice and it's already been rejected by Amazon, it can be worth using a PDF editing tool and just using that to just do a little circle around the product or the brand name or whatever you are trying to ungate with that invoice. I think you got to think like this: Amazon seller support are not the most intelligent people. I don't know why, but they clearly are not very good at hiring, and you've got to make it very, very obvious to them sometimes. A good free tool just online to edit PDFs is this website here, Sedgster. I don't know how you pronounce this, but this is my go-to. If I ever need to like circle something on an invoice or even white out prices for reimbursements and stuff like that, I'll always use this tool because it's free, simple, just upload a PDF and you download it again, easy as that. And then just very quickly, just in case you have been living under a rock and haven't signed up to Amazon yet and are completely unfamiliar with the application page, I'll just show you guys it. First of all, head to a product that you are not yet ungated for. So we've got this Dolce & Gabbana perfume. Down here on Seller Amp SaaS, it will tell you that it's restricted, as well as up here. So we just click on that. It will then say manual ungate. You click on that and it will then bring up the application page. And simple as that, you just hit request approval. With any luck, you might just automatically get approved, but unfortunately in this case, it is asking us for an invoice. So you click on the first option here. You want to tick all of these different boxes just so that you, verify that your document meets the requirements, and then just upload the file. Simple as that. Just hit submit and then just wait, really. Sometimes it's instant, sometimes it takes a few days. And then if you're not using SaaS for some reason, which, if so, what are you doing? You can also find this page by going into the Amazon Seller Central page and adding the product. We've got the ASIN here. If we click search, click on the product, click new, it will then come up with apply to sell, and from there you can get to that same page, and then all you got to do is just upload your file. Now I also wanted to talk about something else just to close off this video, and that is auto-ungate lists or auto-ungate brands. I see this is very commonly talked about, particularly with US sellers, that there are certain brands that you'll just automatically get approved for, and you can even buy an auto-ungate list from these gurus that will just give you a list of brands that you'll automatically get approved for. This just isn't really that true. There's not a lot of truth to this, especially in 2025. I mean, perhaps back in 2020 or before arbitrage became a bigger thing, it might have been possible, and Amazon may not have been as stringent as they are now with ungating, but some brands automatically ungate based on your selling history. So that's where you'll click request approval, and rather than giving you a form to fill in and submit your invoice, they will just automatically approve you. This isn't just done based on certain brands, this is done based on your seller history. And so there isn't, unfortunately, some magic list of brands that you'll always just get approved for, because it just depends on you, how much history you've got with Amazon, whatever their secret algorithm says about you before you've even sold something. Unfortunately, you just got to do trial and error. Something that I actually offer in my mentorship program is I share a really big list of every single brand that I've ever sold before on Amazon, and I get any new sellers that are having trouble with ungating to go through that list and check every single brand and then highlight the ones that they're already approved for. And then from there, I'll be able to help them find products for those brands that will then get them ungated in other brands further down the line, just by increasing their the amount of sales on the account. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that's really a thing anymore. So if you ever do see someone, selling one or whatever, just stay far away, because clearly if they're still selling that sort of stuff in 2025, they are not up to date with how Amazon currently operates. And honestly, I think that's a bit of a running theme with YouTube videos and a lot of these bigger gurus, because they've gravitated away from actually selling on Amazon themselves, and now their main business is just doing YouTube, selling courses and whatever. And sure, no hate, I myself sell courses, do YouTube, but I also am an active seller on Amazon, and I think that's very, very important, because when you're trying to be as knowledgeable as possible about a particular platform or whatever, if you don't actually use that platform day to day, things do change. Amazon is not the same as it was even a year ago, let alone 5 years ago. And so if there's guys on YouTube that have pivoted to that being their only thing and they don't sell on Amazon before, they're just out of the loop, really. They're not up to date with the latest Amazon changes, and that's why I will never ever stop selling on Amazon, because it would just be impossible to make this sort of content without being in the thick of it myself and finding out this stuff for myself. So that is how you can get ungated to be able to sell popular brands on Amazon in 2025. Nowadays, I can sell pretty much anything I want on Amazon, and it's all from using the ungating tactics I've mentioned in this video. But full disclosure, I do actually know of a secret method to bypass Amazon's request for invoices 99% of the time. This means that I can ungate almost anything without an invoice showing 10 units, even as a brand new seller. But unfortunately, I just cannot share that information on YouTube, as it would just get very quickly patched by Amazon. However, that is something that I do cover in my mentorship program. Now, if that's piqued your interest, you can head down to the video description and click the link at the top to find out more about my 6-month-long mentorship program, which consists of a video course, one-to-one calls with me, group sessions, and access to a private leads channel and exclusive Discord community. In that community, you're going to be receiving suppliers and products directly from myself and my sourcing team to get you started with Amazon. Finally, make sure to like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video, and you can click up here if you'd like to watch another video where I interview the lovely Leighton, who scaled to his Amazon FBA business from 0 to 1,500 quid profit per month, all through my coaching program.